Well, hey there. Good afternoon. Bill O'Leary, Legacy Planning Law Group, and estate and elder planning attorney. Happy Thursday to you. Coming to you live, and this is part of what we call our Thursday series, where every Thursday, again about this time, give or take, I go live, talk about a different, sort of legal topic, estate planning, elder law, probate, that sort of thing. Something that I think is interesting. So if you're thirsting for knowledge, you've come to the right place. Today, I was thinking what would be interesting to talk about, sort of in light of what's happening sort of recently as by way of resurgence with COVID sort of resurging with the Delta variant. Has COVID impacted estate planning? Has COVID impacted estate planning? So let me ask you this. Do you know anybody that's died of COVID? I hate to seem morbid, but it just seems like every time I turn around, I hear of somebody that's died of COVID. So, it seems like I hear of another death every week or two. People I know, or maybe people that I know who know somebody that's died. And they're not, all very old people. Some are younger, some even in their 30s. So, since COVID has started, I've certainly seen a surge in interest in sort of will preparation, estate planning, and this pandemic has certainly caused people to really confront their own mortality in a very real way, in a way that they really have never done before. I was told by somebody recently about their best friend who got really sick and they died, and they remembered how painful it was for them, watching their friend on their deathbed and seeing an attorney come into the hospital room, rushing to put an estate plan together at the last minute. And this person told me, well, they never want to, have to do that. They don't want that, and they don't want their family to have to go through that. And now with COVID, they realize, hey, maybe it's a good time to go ahead and get ahead of the curve on that sort of thing. So, look, COVID-19 has been a nightmare for a lot of people, and the lack of an estate planning can actually exacerbate the pain. Heard of another situation, a woman whose husband had passed away in the hospital due to some complications from COVID. And, she couldn't go into the hospital room. Her husband frantically sent her texts trying to sort of outline where their investment accounts were and their money, and she didn't really have that much of an idea, and he's trying to sort of reconstruct things on the fly through texting, trying to tell her where the money was, what she needed to do. Those would be the very last texts he ever sent. And so his wife took screenshots of the text in an effort to try to reconstruct where the money was. Well, do you call that a good estate plan? At least the widow, after struggling to figure out where all the assets were, she saw the light, and she decided, okay, now she's going to get serious to put together her own estate plan. And so did that after her husband died. But gosh, it could have been done so much better before the husband died, with a lot less grief, a lot less stress. Again, had both of them planned together before he died. So I guess that's the silver lining we can almost take from this tragic widow's story. While there's so much heartache that COVID-19 is causing, we can use this as sort of an opportunity. Sort of think of it as sort of a wake-up call to get your estate planning in order, get your life insurance together, your financial ducks sort of in a row, to make sure your spouse and your family is going to be well taken care of if something happens to you, and things will go smoothly and easily. For many people, family is the point of doing estate planning. Preparing your estate really is an act of love, not for you, but your family, for your family. You're telling them straight up, hey, I'm not going to put you through that burden to have you figure out what I would have wanted. I'm going to tell you now what I want. I'm going to tell you who's going to get what and when and how, so you don't have to worry about that, okay? So without a will or an estate plan, guess what? The government comes in. State law is going to dictate how your assets are distributed after you die. And not only can this be a very costly process in a lot of situations, that's what we call probate, but it can be a giant burden on your heirs during a time of grieving and sadness. But even if you have a will, hey, it's better than having nothing at all, better than having like sort of the back of a napkin. You have a will, but if that's all you have is a will, then what your family likely is staring at is having to go through probate, which again is sort of a court supervised process of passing assets through a will, or in the absence of a will, as the state law is going to dictate. And this probate can be time consuming and expensive. You can avoid that, not bogging your family down in the probate court, by setting up a trust. And by far the most common kind of trust is a revocable living trust. Revocable simply means you can undo it, or you can do something short of that. You can change it, so it makes for a very flexible sort of estate planning solution. It can adapt over time as maybe family circumstances change. So a revocable living trust is a really powerful tool. It sort of has this mystique about it that it's only for really rich people and famous people, but that is not true at all. To the contrary, most people could benefit from setting up a revocable living trust, especially anyone who has children, let's say, whether adult children. You want to protect the inheritance from the possibility that they get divorced or maybe in some sort of car accident. Here comes the lawsuit. Minor children, to avoid the family having to set up a guardianship if you die and they're still minors because they're legally not able to receive the inheritance. They're under the age. You own real estate. Various situations where having a trust is a great solution. So again, not only does having a trust ensure that your family doesn't have to go through probate, and it ensures also that your money is going to go to the people that you want it to. Okay. So again, not only who's going to get it, but it lets you control exactly how the money is going to be used, and to appoint a person to take control when you're not available. With a will, if that's all you have, you're naming an executor. We call it a personal representative. But they're really just sort of an administrator there to sort of make sure the assets are transferred from one person to another. But a trustee is so much more effective. They're more like a decision maker. They're basically standing in your shoes and making decisions you would want to make if you were still around to make them, in terms of who's going to get what and maybe sort of how they're going to get it. So let COVID be a wake-up call for you. Don't be a statistic. Don't be among those who don't have any estate plan at all, or if they do, it's just basically a simple will, which frankly pretty much ensures that your family is going to be stuck in probate, and your kids' inheritance will not be protected with just a will. Take action, get it done. Don't procrastinate any longer. So hey, if you'd like to know more, maybe about how COVID has impacted estate planning and how maybe you can sort of get off the couch and get one in place, and maybe want to know how we can help, we'd love to talk to you. So we encourage people, sort of a first step is just go ahead and reach out and have a 15-minute phone call with us. We call it a discovery phone call. It's complimentary. You can book it now on the Facebook page that we have, the Book Now button, or just Google us, LegacyPlanningLawGroup.com. Okay, and what that does is give us both a chance to sort of start a conversation to see if we can help you. So as I close, hey, if you've enjoyed this, would you mind liking the video, or better yet, sharing it with your friends? We find that's sort of the most effective way to sort of get this message out. I would think your friends would love to see this. Would love to know how COVID has impacted estate planning, and maybe motivate them to do something that they haven't done, maybe been thinking about in the back of their mind. So I plan on giving another talk next Thursday at about this time, again, part of our Thirsty Thursday series. So if you're thirsting for knowledge, we will quench your thirst. So Bill O'Leary signing off today, Thursday, September 9th. Hope you make it a great day, but more important than that, go make it a better world.